What's up, guys? Psychotics here again. Gonna profile Noble Knights today. Alright, so free Medraut, standard, necessity, best card. Simple. 3 Borz. The best alternative to Medraut. People understand now, I guess you could say after like all the games I played, people understand that this is the best alternative to Medraut or even the XYZs. I've won I don't know how many games just sitting on this guy alone. Just getting, if you get his effect off maybe 2 times, you kind of just guaranteed yourself the win. You just decked yourself out by 6 and 2 of those cards go into your hand. And you got some targets that are pluses in the graveyards. Queen's a plus if she hits the graveyard. And yeah, comes dark. 2 Drystan. Pretty good card. I like having 2 just for the fact that if you have 2 on the field, you put your opponent in a lock. They can't target either Drystan for attacks or card effects, so that's pretty cool. Kind of hard to pull that off, I guess, but it's not like the situation hasn't come up before. 2 Gawayn. Good if your Medraut gets Fiendish Chained or something, or Veilered even. Veilered seems like the more common route because we kind of have outs to Fiendish Chain and Breakthrough Skill and Bottomless in this deck. I'll show you in a little bit. But this card gives you the instant rank 4, and he combos well with the next card. Oops. And this is Gwalchavad. So not a lot of people use this card, or maybe they'll use 1. I like it at 1. So you just attach a Noble Arms. You can target a Noble Knight in your graveyard, add it back to your hand, and then you send that Noble Arms to the graveyard. So you can grab Gawayn, and since he will no longer have a Noble Arms equipped to him, you can special summon Gawayn from your hand in defense. And that gives you a king, and you can get the equipped cards back from your graveyard to your field. And, people have a hard time getting over that. The best non-Noble Knight level 4, Queen. Well, I guess you consider Noble Knight the monster you don't want to summon, the best monster you don't want to summon. This card's good once per turn, hand or graveyard. So I like it a lot on Borz because he becomes she has an effect where it's equipped to a dark monster. It has a pseudo Catastor effect. So you could destroy a monster before damage calculation and doesn't target. And it gives him 300 attack. And it's okay on King. It's just mostly there for 300 buff. But one of the things I like about it is if I have, let's say I have Borz. Let's bring him out. Let's say I got Borz. If you equip this, of course he's going to be 2k, and he'll also be Dark type, but usually you open with at least 1 Noble Arms card. So in this case, we could go over maybe, he could be around 2500 if he has Caliburn or something like that. So let's say they have 101 Silent Honor Arc, and they just took your king last turn. Since he's a little bit stronger, you can attack him, and then you can attempt to activate this effect to send it to the graveyard. But the thing is, since this card has to hit the graveyard or it has to destroy the other monster, and that has to go to the graveyard for this to actually hit the graveyard. You can actually detach 2 materials off 101, basically killing it, and this doesn't even hit the graveyard, so you don't have to re-equip it next turn, or you can re-equip the second one. So I like that. Thunder King, good, just general stun card. You don't really add cards from your deck to your hand that much, except from Borz and RotA. Yeah, just those two. So this is good. 2 Veiler. I noticed some people are running it at 3. I can understand why. You want to protect your king from maybe Exciton Knight or 101 Silent Honor Arc if they somehow get over Excaliburn. But I like it at 2. It's good for synchro summoning too. We have 2 synchro summon targets in this deck. But I just don't like the fact that there's decks that exist that completely just get around this. Although the Bujin matchup is pretty fair, and you know, I don't think I've lost to a Bujin deck with my Noble Knights, but this card is just like basically useless against them. I mean, you could use it against like Susanoo or something, but you know, they just got Turtle, and also this just doesn't work against like grave reliant decks for the most part. So 2's good. And instead of the third effect Veiler target, we have Honest. I like Honest because great in the Bujin matchup, first of all. It just calls up step 4 damage calc, you know. That's GG. And then protects your king. Yeah, I like this for defending the king. They'll just minus maybe anywhere from 2 to like 2 or more. They basically have to minus 2 to get over king, and imagine they just attack once they feel like they're safe. But you know, honest is a necessity, I think, and it's up to you whether you want to run this or not. I like this over the 3rd Veiler. 1 reinforcement of the army. We're playing a warrior deck. Grab your Medraut faster. Depending on the situation, at least. If you already have Medraut, I mean, I wouldn't say there's a huge amount of times, but there's been a good amount of times where I've already had a king on the field from a Medraut play, and then I've already had one in my hand like 2 turns later. So, you know, you could use this to grab whatever you want. Just depends on the situation. 2 Destiny. Its effect to pop is mandatory, so, well, I mean, like, when they try to pop your monster from, like, Dark Hole or something, or, this is mandatory, so this activates before Queen. Let's say you have this on your Artorigus, the Sacred Noble King. This is going to resolve first before you get the chance to activate Queen, so I guess that's the only downside, but, very good card. Probably one of the best ones. The best re-equipable Noble Arms card. The best non-re-equipable one is Excaliburn. Your opponent can't target your monster for card effects. You could also banish this to rank up your king, so you can go from 4 to 5, or if they have like your king on lockdown, like you could just go from 4 to, or 5 to 4, and that will send all your equips back to the graveyard, and you can just bring 3 back from the new king's effect. So good. I like it a lot. Sometimes people don't expect the second effect to go off. 1 Caliburn plus 500 life points is actually pretty nice. There's been plenty of games where I have this and gone over maybe 11,000 minus or excluding the Upstart Goblins some people will give me. So I mean, you can get up to 1,400 and think about it, that's basically almost double your life points, your standard life point count, once you get the 3 upstart goblins in. So, I mean, that's pretty funny. Yeah. 500's good, and 500 attack's pretty good too. Gallatin, good card. Sometimes I don't think it's that easy to get the like the minus 200. You'd have to sit on your Noble Knight monster for a very long time for this to actually start hurting you. And if you have this on level 4 King, you know, you could just pop this to reset it, and you can also pop Caliburn to plus 500 life points again. This is not limited to, it's once per turn, but for each monster it's equipped to, it's not limited to the effect of once per turn. This card, Arfeudutyr, I like this card. I wouldn't run it at 2 though. It's really good against Girgia or Girgia. Just a lot of back row decks, especially ones that, you know, they can't really chain their cards. And the thing about this card, you can force your opponent to chain their set card, because this card resolves. This only pops set cards, so if they flip over their, I don't know, their skill drain, let's say skill drain. Skill drain is not going to get popped, unfortunately, but at least you know it's there, and you force them to activate it at a time where it's convenient for you and not your opponent. So it's a little bit, this adds a little bit of control, which is a great aspect for this deck, and I think a lot of people just don't appreciate that, and plus the card looks badass. Along with all the other cards, of course. Probably the best artwork in Yu-Gi-Oh, in my opinion. So our outs to a lot of stuff. Sorry about that. 3 lands. This card has never been dead for me. It's actually just, it's so good. Bottomless, nope. Traptrix Trapple Nightmare, which is becoming pretty popular now. It rose significantly in price due to the artifacts. And the new Traptrix monster that came out. This says no to that. This says no to basically anything, and then plus, you could always use it as a defense mechanism. Minus 800 attack for your opponent. It's not bad either. I think like mermails and stuff, they don't really expect this card. I don't know why. This kind of hurts them a lot. Ignore my my nasty played Kaiser, but you know, that's what happens when you're a little kid and you got that old Yu-Gi-Oh cards, I guess. But yeah, Kaiser Colosseum. I'd say that I'd probably draw this probably about 1 every 3 games. Sounds about accurate. So you can, this can help you win pretty, or not quickly, but this can secure your win. Your opponent has to, you know, you basically pay nothing for this card, and well, they have to MST it or something. So, or they just keep stalling. So that just gives you advantage. It's pretty funny when you're playing like a Bujin matchup or something, and they have their own Kaiser Colosseum, so it's Kaiser versus Kaiser, and you both have 1 monster. Yamato versus a Noble Knight, you know, that's pretty cool. Have it happen to me before. But the thing is, we also can use Drystan to pop face-up cards, like Kaiser Colosseum. 2 pots for consistency. If you have this, if you don't have Medraut, you can grab Medraut. If you opened Borz, feel free to use this card. If you don't have a Noble Arms, just search that, don't grab Medraut. Because Borz is very good on his own. And like I said, he just nets you so much advantage. You don't want to like keep drawing to equip cards when you don't even have targets for it in the first place. So that's pretty good. Just grab Borz if you don't have it. If you have a whole bunch of other monsters, you should probably just grab Medraut or something. Or it's up to you. It just depends on the situation. One Dark Hole. I normally don't like this card, but I notice it's particularly good in this deck. If they have if they spam their field, they try to get over your king or something, or you only have one Noble Name monster, or they soul charge or some stupid shit, just Dark Hole it, and it won't really cost you anything. One book, just good. Sometimes your opponent will summon something, they'll minus enough, and the next play they can get over your king. So, that's always a possibility, so just feel free to book them in that. Usually 101's a good option, or 0 find the Ice Beast for Harpies. 2 MST. You don't really need 3. I noticed that you only need to go through 2 MSTs in the main deck, because, I don't know, I feel like setting cards is not that great in this deck. You usually have at least 1 or 2 free spots, so yeah, 2's good. We have 3 lands to protect ourselves, so. For the 1-up traps, we have Compulse, Solemn, Torrential, and Bottomless. Doesn't really need explanation for that. Good cards. For the extra deck, we have 1 Ignoble High Laundsallyn. Here's what you want to normal summon your Effect Veiler. You don't have to, but this card is really good on his own. Just lets you add a Noble Knight monster whenever or Noble Arms card whenever he destroys a monster by battle. At the end of the battle phase, he gets that effect. 1 Catastor, it's okay. It's just there if you need it. You could always cut it for whatever you prefer as a player. 2 rank 4 King. This one pops spells or traps and his effects doesn't target. And like I said earlier, you can pop Caliburn and you can reuse that effect, so that's pretty nice. And also you can reset Gallatin. And then leading to that, we have 2 rank 5 Kings. Rank 5 King lets you pop monsters. It's okay. It's an okay effect, but yeah, it hinders your opponent quite a bit and just adds to that pressure. It just adds so much pressure to your opponent. Oh yeah, and also its graveyard effect's pretty nasty. Just basically summon Medraut when he's destroyed. Some people overlook that, but yeah. 1 Excalibur, because 4,000 is pretty nice, and this can help in the OTK with Gwalchavad and Gawayn. You just keep spamming rank 4s. And to add to that, we have Blade Armor Ninja. He's slightly more versatile than Excalibur. Well, it's debatable. They just both do decent amount of damage. He does good damage on his own. Just lets you attack twice too. It's okay if you don't have any equipped cards in the graveyard to summon rank 4 King. And this is Constellar Omega. Don't really go into this that much. It's alright. 1 Cowboy, secures games. Alternative to 101, because I don't own one, surprisingly, even though I have this expensive ass deck. Yeah, I don't own 101, but this is one of the better alternatives in my opinion, because it doesn't have a requirement other than the monster just has to be an effect monster. Only minus is, of course, monster gets destroyed by battle or something, and it's a little bit weaker, but you get to draw off of it, and it just does more damage than 101, I guess. It just depends, I guess. But I don't own 101, so. one Pappy. If I owned 101, I'd probably cut him. Or a Catastor, but I like him. I've always used him in a lot of my rank 4 deck. One Crazy Box for skill drain, and of course, if you want, you could even side up skill drain in this deck. And one Diamond Dyer to pop nasty cards. One Dweller for graveyard decks. Alright guys, that finishes up the Noble Knight deck profile. If you guys have any questions or suggestions or anything, just, you know, let me know. This is the way I like it. You know, let me know how you guys build your deck. I know Brothers is a card, but I like this. I notice you don't really need this deck, or you don't really need Brothers, so, you know, it's all up on you. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe, and yeah, peace out, guys.